Hey, welcome, welcome. I am Sarah and super excited to be here today. I create these in an effort to share something that's near and dear to me. I love the scriptures, and one way that I connect the scriptures into everyday life is with another love that I have, and that's yoga. So if you're brand new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Last week, I shared 7 tools, and whether you heard them last week or not, I'm actually going to recap them as a precursor for what we're coming into this week. And this week is a focus on 3rd Nephi chapters 8 through 11, but the 7 tools from last week came from 3rd Nephi chapters 1 through 7 in the Book of Mormon. And I'll just real quick go through what those tools were. And they were tools to use when we're in a season of waiting, uncertainty, unsteadiness. And I'm sharing them again because as I went through them last week and practiced them throughout the week, I was very empowered in knowing that they're very applicable, especially in the season of 2020 right now. So number 1 is to do the small and simple things that create steadiness for you. And whatever that looks like, do it. Number 2, grow the good. What we focus on always grows, and growing the good, letting go of what does not serve us. Number 3, compelled. When we're compelled to do something, go do it. Number 4, create places of gathering. And that can be very, very small and very, very simple. And it can be creating a place of gathering even within our own homes, and letting go of the things that cause disconnection, or that separate us from one another, and adding and bringing in those things that do create connection. Number 5, put your strength in the Lord. So as much as I know in my life where I've wanted to just figure it all out on my own, or just do the thing that I think I need to do, putting my strength in his strength is where I have found that peace, especially amidst the uncertainty or unsurety. Number 6, pause and focus with gratitude on the journey of your ancestors and how that knowledge is a tool in your life, regardless of what that might look like. Let that kind of soak in for a little bit of how their choices and actions led to you being exactly where you are right now in this moment. And number 7 is to trust the process. And another word for that is faith, but taking it just a step at a time. So with those tools in the season of waiting, we come into 3rd Nephi chapters 8 and 11 in the Book of Mormon, which is where we're at this week. And I love these chapters. And while I wish I could spend time in all of them, I'll put most of my focus and energy in chapter 11. But before we get there, I just want to share something that really connected with me in chapter 9. And it was that before they saw Christ, which we'll study in here in 11 and on, they heard his voice first. And I just love how that connects so deeply with what President Nilsson has been sharing and speaking with us in these, placing that in a focus to greater increase our capacity to hear him. And in chapter 11, verse 5, there's actually 3 ways that those who were fully engaged to receive revelation were able to hear his voice. And 1, they opened their ears. 2, their eyes were towards the sound. And 3, they looked steadfastly towards heaven. So there was a full connection, multi-sensory experience of putting their hearts in their places, their eyes, their ears in a place towards heaven and towards Christ. And I love that in verse 7, God the Father introduces Christ in very simple, small language. Hear ye him. Moving forward into verse 11, Christ introduces himself and says that I am the light and life of the world. And as I read that, I was reminded of President Nielsen's talk this last April in General Conference. One portion, he said, the increasing darkness that accompanies tribulation makes the light of Jesus Christ ever brighter. I love that opposition that exists in all things. In yoga, we teach and study a lot about the balance, the strength with the stretch, the yin to the yang, understanding that those forces of opposition are, if one increases, the other one increases as well. And ultimately, understanding that even if there is more darkness or tribulation existing, that means that the light of Christ truly is shining brighter. And then moving forward to verse 15, where Christ is there in person, and he offers so much power in the process, where he meets and connects with each person there one by one, to give them an opportunity to see and feel and know with a surety that it was he. And the power of Christ's ministry and how he ministered on this earth through the one, how he continues to minister and teach us through the one, is the way that I think we can truly come to know him as well. One experience, one moment, one softening space at a time. So the practice that we have today is centered on receiving and opening ourselves. Receiving, I looked up a couple definitions of it, and I loved one concept, that it means to respond to something in a specific way. So let's begin. And we are going to take just those thoughts, however they might speak or connect with you, into a seated position on our mat. And again, letting those feet unfold from one another, nice and long through the spine, relaxing those shoulders. And often we talk about our hands and placements and opening those palms up, just ready to receive and open. And maybe looking for a way to connect that steadfast and unwavering space within our bodies as we come into some steadiness and some breath to begin. So take just a moment and close those eyes, and let's connect ourselves to that one by one reference that we just talked about in the scriptures. Place your focus on one moment when you have felt the Lord's hand in your life. One moment when you have felt the light of Christ. One specific moment when you have felt lifted, strengthened, succored. Get very specific, very small. Maybe a moment when you have felt God's love for you. And maybe that moment is right now. And as we begin to slow down the breath with that visualization in our minds, we continue to inhale. And with this breath, inhale, I am. And then just exhale. Inhale, I am. And then exhale. In the scriptures, Christ refers to himself as the I am. So when we use that statement, I am, it does not mean what we might initially think in the English language of, I'm just going to do it myself. But it means that I am is including Christ with us. So on this next inhale, the I am, I want you to exhale and add a word that connects to you. It could be an action word, it could be your name. It could be a phrase or statement that invokes peace and calm in your heart. But whatever that word is that comes to mind, let yourself just feel it. Finish that sentence with whatever the phrase is that speaks to you. And then let yourself continue to be open and receiving that throughout our practice today. From here, taking our bodies over to a tabletop position. Finding that cat and cow as we begin to warm up the spine. The spine is central in our yoga practice. So feeling that expressive rounding and stretching and lengthening sensation in this cat and cow is a beautiful way to awaken and open space in our bodies, which connects to our minds and our spirits. So we're using that exhale, rounding through cat, inhale, releasing through cow. Centering up into tabletop position and then releasing back into child's pose. Knees are nice and wide, the big toes are together, shoulders are releasing away from the ears, gazing at the fingertips, shifting forward, and then lowering down all the way to the earth. And again, awakening that spine, just lifting up in a gentle cobra and releasing back down, pressing those palms in towards the earth. Belly and hips lift off and come back into child's pose. Beautiful. Taking that space one more time, shifting forward, lowering down, inhaling, and then exhaling, pressing into those palms as we reach back. Walking hand over hand to the right diagonal, we feel an opening sensation through the left side body. Crossing that left hand on top of the right palm. And then centering ourselves back up, gazing at those fingertips, and again shifting forward. This time engaging nice and slow, lowering as slowly as we can, lifting up through that modified cobra, and then pressing palms in, releasing all the way back. Walking over to the left side, stretching that right hand on top of the left, opening up through the right side body. Feeling that opening sensation through the whole side body, shifting ourselves forward and lowering down. As I guide through this practice today, know that at any time you can bring your body back into that child's pose or even the seated position, and just let yourself breathe and express how it speaks for your body today. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to yoga practice, and while I may guide through poses and spaces and places, do what feels good to your body. Listen to that. Joining together in tabletop position, we curl those toes under, lift the knees off, and float for just a moment, and then release back into a tiger dog. Inhaling to the floating table, and exhale back into tiger dog. It's okay to keep those knees super bent. We just let ourselves flow through our own breath, exhaling and inhaling in this space. And then joining together in downward facing dog, letting those legs extend, pedaling through the heels. Feet, in this case, are about shoulder distance apart. Those palms, naturally, our bodies will kind of lean into our palms. And we want to avoid this position that you can see right now. A couple ways we can adjust. So we're deepening the knee bend back into that bent knee, adjusting those palms to widen the fingertips. And then really the secret here is I'm leading with my heart, and I'm letting my heart open towards my legs. So now drawing those ears right between my arms. I'll show that expression one more time. If we notice right here in our head, we look side to side and there's lots of space before our arms. That's our body's signal to bend those knees as much as we need, and then let the ears come right back, so that the ears, if we look side to side, our eyes are looking right at those biceps. Relax those shoulders away from the ears. Lift the heels nice and high. Lower them back down, gazing at the fingertips, shifting forward. Again, we can go back to those kneeling plank position, or we stay on the toes. Lower down. If we're on those toes, we only lower no more than halfway, shifting forward, and then come to upward facing dog. Lift the hips and release back into downward facing dog. Beautiful. Shifting forward, lowering as it speaks to your body, lifting up and releasing back. Noticing that each time we come back into downward facing dog, it probably feels a little more comfortable than that first time. A little bit more lengthening, a little less intense. And just take a minute to bend those knees and let the hips open from one side to the other. Really stretching and releasing that tension that we all carry. From here, lifting your left leg up towards the sky, and then you'll bring your left leg in between the hands. And we can use a hand to help guide it in there. Dropping our back leg, so your left leg is forward, coming up to a kneeling lunge position, relaxing into that hip and opening through the hip space. Interlace the fingers and gaze that opening sensation up towards the sky. From here, gaze coming along the horizon, curling the back toe under. We may choose to keep those hands interlaced as we press up to a high lunge. Stacking those shoulders over the hips. And we may keep those hands interlaced or bring them wherever it helps for our balance. But in this space, we are creeping ourselves forward and shifting into warrior three. Teeter-totter, leading with that heart. From here, the back leg connects to the earth. We release the hands and open up warrior two. So the left leg is still bent, the right foot slightly angled inward. Left palms rotate towards the sky, reverse warrior. And then those left palms stretch, side angle. From here, the gaze reaches towards the earth. We extend those left fingertips with us, and our left hand leads us into a balancing half moon. Again, creeping the back foot closer. It may stay connected on the earth at all times. It may lift off, engaging through the belly, lengthening and opening in that spine. Lifting everything up towards the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands and step back into plank, knees or toes. And then press back, downward facing dog. Bending the knees and finding ourselves in child's pose. Staying in that child's pose and reconnecting yourself with the I am phrase, creating space to receive that phrase, and knowing that whatever phrase that you choose intentionally, allow it to invoke feelings of calm, peace, empowerment, right? If it's invoking feelings of judgment or shame or blame, that's not the phrase to stay connected with. So redirect as we need, and then soak in the space of truth. Lifting the hips, curling the toes under. If you're gazing at the screen now, you've noticed that I've rotated around so that you can see me in these next poses together. But from here, we lift that left leg up towards the sky. Excuse me, your right leg up towards the sky this time. Bring it in and step it in between the hands. So the back knee lowers and we come up into that nice lunge position. Kneeling lunge right here. Your right leg is forward, and we're just checking real quick to make sure that that knee is in alignment with the ankle. From here, interlace those fingers, open up the chest, gazing towards the sky. Now, if we notice that those interlaced fingers don't speak with our body, we can always come elbow to elbow. Beautiful place as well. Curling the toes under, lifting up to a high lunge. Shifting our weight forward into the right leg. We think about lengthening ourselves forward more than a downward sensation as we transfer into Warrior 3. Squaring those hips towards the earth, finding that steadiness amidst the unsteadiness. Opening the heart in this space and letting it really lead. And then teeter-tottering back, releasing those arms and opening Warrior 2. Right palms rotate towards the sky and we reach up into Reverse Warrior. Feeling that stretching and opening sensation through the whole side body. And then extending ourselves long into our side angle. Beautiful place to stay. We could express a little differently. From here, gazing towards the earth, those right fingertips lead the way into balancing half moon. The back leg could stay connected or lift off. And if this space of looking down towards the earth feels steady and comfortable, we can always change the gaze, maybe looking along the horizon or shifting that gaze upwards towards the sky. Sweeping everything up. Big breath and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back into plank. And this time, from this plank position, lowering down to the forearms. So feeling that And I'll show that example. A lot of times when we come to the forearms, our backside wants to stay lifted, and we're allowing that plank-like position to come with us, lowering those hips. From here, we actually do lift the hips, and we're coming into dolphin pose. So dolphin pose, maybe a slight adjustment in those toes, is again taking that head in between those biceps. So we come from a plank position. Good, and then we're lifting the hips and allowing those ears to come right between the arms. Inhaling to plank, exhaling to dolphin. Inhaling to plank, exhaling to dolphin. Engaging through that lower belly, nice strengthening space for the abdominals, and then lowering the knees and pressing back into child's pose. Drawing the shoulders away from the ears. And again, centering our minds on that thought, that phrase, the I am statement of today. Feeling that energy of just this one phrase within this one moment. Connecting you to that light that resides within each of us from within. Walking those hands back. Opening ourselves up and coming to a seated space for just a moment. In fact, let's curl those toes under, giving ourselves that seated space. From here, I'll be talking through a few variations of camel pose. Take the variation that speaks to your spine today. This isn't about pushing ourselves to a point of discomfort where we can't breathe or there's sharp pinches, pressures, or pains. But it really is about expressing an opening with that breath still being constant. From here, we take the hands behind us and we feel those elbows work together. Reaching back and gazing towards the sky. This could be where we stay. We have a beautiful opening sensation right here, and we're working to draw those elbows as if they're tied together by rubber bands back together. We may even like lifting off and coming to a place where we have the higher kneeling position. Again, toes could be curled under or they could be flat. And we're just feeling that sensation, opening the heart and gazing towards the sky. Camel is about opening the heart, and we can feel that opening place right here. If we would like to walk the spine through a different expression of camel, we continue to take that opening sensation, and we're careful to notice that these hands, as they're connected on the backside, they're not tucking into that curvature of the lower lumbar spine. They're actually connecting here to more towards the sacrum. We're really shifting ourselves and allowing that space. There's no sharp pressures or pains coming into that lower back. From here, camel is about leading and expressing long through that spine, not arching the lower back at all, but we're expressing and opening those hips. And we may reach a hand back and find a connection with one or both feet. If we wave the hand and there are no feet there, that's our body signal to just come back to the back side. Releasing those shoulders away from the ears. I like to keep my head in alignment. And then from here, squeezing and engaging the glutes, peeling ourselves back up and countering this with turtle. So we're very slowly working ourselves forward, flattening through those feet, and then rounding our spines just like a turtle shell. Beautiful. Walking those hands towards the body and coming to a place where we can release our backs all the way down onto the mat. I am going to be taking this nice and slow, Grabbing onto those hamstrings for support, and then rolling down one vertebra at a time. Breathing through those sensations, letting the knees fall in towards the body, and just giving ourselves a gentle hug, rocking side to side. Letting the knees fall all the way over to the right side. Squaring and cementing the shoulders towards the earth, taking goalpost arms, and gazing ourselves towards the left. Just allowing that spine to wring out like a wet towel. And from here, engaging the belly, the knees lift towards the sky, and then they fall in the opposite direction, the knees going towards the left, and the head gazing over towards the right. And then from here, pulling the knees in towards the chest for one last moment, and releasing into your final Shavasana, relaxation for today. Again, letting that belly, chest rise and fall with the inhale and exhale. Those palms opening again towards the sky for receiving. The feet naturally, let the toes fall open. And welcoming yourself in this space of stillness and steadiness for the next few moments as I guide you through these moments of connection. You are welcome to stay with that body exactly where it's at. If a seated meditation speaks to you more fully, please take yourself to that space in these next few moments. But in that stillness, find that breath. Again, draw your focus to the I am statement that you created. And then draw your focus back to that initial moment, that one moment and feeling that you recalled at the beginning of our practice today, of a time when you felt the Lord's hand in your life, His comfort, His rescue, His peace. It may have come through someone else. It may have been connecting in a moment alone. But think of just that one specific moment of His connection with you. And in these next few moments of stillness, let yourself answer this thought. What is one small thing you will choose to let go of to create an opening in your mind and heart in these upcoming weeks? From now, throughout this next week, and even maybe the next few weeks leading up to our fall general conference, where we get to hear from living apostles and our prophet. Take in this moment and answer that. What is one small thing to let go of. This could be something related to doing. It could be a habit or an action that comes to mind. It could also be something related to being. It could be a mindset. It could be forgiving. It could be trusting. And when I say the words forgiving and trusting, that's what we're creating space for. And it's letting go of whatever that mindset is that pulls us away from the truthfulness of those words. So as you identify that thing to let go of, replace it. And think of the one small thing you choose to replace it with. It could be stillness, it could be silence, it could just be space. It might be a little discomfort. Letting go of something, and keep it small. This doesn't need to be grand actions or thoughts happening in our lives, but keep it small. I truly believe the truthfulness in the scriptures that we've studied in earlier weeks, but that by small and simple things, great things do come to pass. So keep it so small. And whether you choose to replace it with that stillness or silence or whatever might speak to you, journaling, music, prayer, scriptures, hearing the voice of the Lord through his servants. Or the action might be a different type of doing. There is no one size fits all. But President Nielsen shared in that same April talk, he said, when we seek to hear, to truly hear his son, we will be guided to know what to do in any circumstance. And I also share my heart and my light space with you, the truthfulness of those words, that when we create those spaces to hear him, he will guide us in any circumstance with what to do, that next step. He might, most likely, at least in my life, he's never given the big roadmap, but he has provided the next step. And I just walk and trust the process in that. And I learn through taking that step, and I learn through practicing again and again, and relearning things again and again. And friends, thank you so much for being here today. The light within me honors the light within each of you as you come out of this meditation, whether in that lying down position or a seated space. Bring those hands to the heart, and namaste. Have an amazing week. I am so excited to connect with you next week in one of my most favorite chapters in the Book of Mormon. Well, I like a lot of chapters in the Book of Mormon, but one of them next week is a personal favorite. So see you then. Bye.